Hello, YouTube is a hellhole, and we all know that. The platform has its problems, and for the most part, if I see something that I don't like, I just press not interested and I move the fuck on. Not today though. If you don't know, on my main channel, Pizza Dad, I made a Halloween video about Dead Rising 4. I'll probably put a card somewhere for you to watch that, but I put a lot of work into that video. I tried as best as I could to give you as much information on why I do not think that that game is good, while also, to be frank, not wasting your time. That's what I try to do with all my videos, juggle the passion with not wasting people's time, yours or mine. But the fucked up thing that YouTube does is if I make a video on something, it is going to suggest me that topic that I talked about for about 3 weeks or so. And so today, I got recommended a video about Dead Rising from Nerdstalgic Gaming, and it was hot-boiled ass. If you don't know about Nerdstalgic, it's a channel that makes pop culture video essays. A specific kind of video essay that was very popular, I want to say, in like the early to mid 2010s and sort of fell out of style as watch time became more prioritized on the platform, where they essentially just say a lot of vague shit to put the idea of something in your head and has a lot of this flashy editing and shit and really like lo-fi music. But if you look at the script on its own, it is the adult equivalent to writing a 5th grade English essay that is all filler just so you can at least get a C+ so your mom doesn't get mad at you. In all honesty, I watched the video expecting to see some sort of plagiarism because Nerdstalgic, the main channel, has already been accused of plagiarism like a million times. Allegedly, of course. I don't want to get sued. So I watched the video for the perspective of both a Dead Rising fan as well as somebody who watches a lot of that content, expecting to see some similarities, and what I came out seeing was so much fucking worse. I am so astounded by how someone can talk for so long and yet say absolutely nothing of substance. Like, I'm actually getting overwhelmed thinking of all the shit that's wrong with this. Oh my god. First off, I don't even believe that the person writing this script even played the fucking games. All of the mechanics and the gameplay loop are all talked about in such a vague, very back of the box way. Like, it just calls that the 72-hour timer that the first game had risky, and that just feels so it's very limp. At one point they described the game as so 2000s, which hey, that's fine. You could ride a skateboard through the mall, I get it, but one of the reasons that they called it 2000s is that the game is set in a mall. What the fuck? Even people who don't know or care about Dead Rising could pretty much pick up that this is taking from horror movies and not 2000s pop culture. And there's a lot more of that vague language about gameplay mechanics as well as just blatantly incorrect information throughout the whole video. The video claims that Dead Rising 2 was developed by a Capcom subsidiary, which is false because at the time that Dead Rising 2, Case Zero, and Case West were made, it was made by Blue Castle Games, and after those 3 things succeeded, the studio was then bought out by Capcom, solely with the intention of making more Dead Rising. Like, Dead Rising 2 is described as chaotic and fun, and it's like, do you have nothing else to say? How am I as a viewer supposed to believe that you played this game? It doesn't even matter that the person saying the words is different from the person writing the words. How am I supposed to believe that these words are coming from the mouth of somebody who played the game, thought about it, and then wrote about it, and not somebody who just watched a playthrough on YouTube? Case Zero is called a piece of DLC, which it's not. It was a proto game that was released before the main game as a sort of equivalent to a demo that was also like an early chapter, kind of like what Ground Zeroes and Birth by Sleep 0.2 would do just a couple years later. And I get that it's a minor thing, like there's some fuck-ups later, like at one point he says 1 million copies sold, but then shows a $sign. That's minor, that's just an editing mistake probably, because these videos are made on a weekly basis, which is not at all conducive for consistently well done work without a large team of people. So minor stuff is fine, but you can look up when things were made. You can use the worst source ever, Wikipedia, and just look up a year that something came out. As a matter of fact, you can Google things with release date after it, and Google will tell you when something came out. And I know that I don't have space to talk, right? I make fuck ups in my main videos all the time. So much. mostly because I am one person, and I sort of have a 3-point system for myself. If I watch a video and a video has 3 big fuck-ups, then I will re-edit it and re-export it, but if it doesn't, I just sort of brush my hands and move on. So there's nothing wrong with a little mistake here or there. But the fundamental problem with this video and videos like it is that it's saying nothing and yet trying to weave this sort of big overarching problem. The big thesis of the video is that the original Dead Rising was super imaginative and a very creative concept, which it is, but also it was difficult and not for mainstream audiences. And over time, the formula began to be watered down as they tried to reach more and more people. And yeah, that's a part of it, but the bigger problem was more so that Capcom Vancouver wanted to make different things than what Capcom wanted. Capcom wanted samey sequels. Capcom Vancouver wanted to make different IP altogether. Both were at a crossroads, and it led to nobody getting what they want. And I want to reiterate, it's fine if you don't like the Dead Rising sequels. I don't care. I totally understand why someone would like that very first game, maybe be iffy on 2 or off the record, and not like 3 or 4. But there's absolutely no need to make this overarching story where Dead Rising 1 was amazing and everything after it was dog shit. At one point, oh my god, this part actually gave me psychological damage. The video says that Dead Rising 3 was trying too hard to play into the Walking Dead hype, which is totally noticeable from playing the game, but it also says that it was trying too hard to be super realistic like other games from that era, and then it only shows games that released in 2010. It compares Dead Rising 3 to the visual styles of Alan Wake, New Vegas, and Red Dead Redemption. My brother in Christ, 2 of those games take place in a desert, and the other is a horror game. I think the other game it compares it to is Total War, but I've never played that. And the final nail in the coffin is him talking about the canceled 5th game, which the video claims the 5th game was canceled solely because of the disappointing sales of Dead Rising 4. Which, no, it wasn't. Dead Rising 4 was originally a completely different game inspired by The Last of Us, and the pitch for Dead Rising 5 was inspired by Dark Souls. That's why that game was canceled. There's a bunch of videos you could watch about it, mainly one from Digino Gaming. I also covered this in my own video. But the point is that if you actually cared about this topic, there is information out there. But instead, this video tries to manufacture a narrative that real gamers are being left behind by the game being easier and more for mainstream audiences, all of which are giving off major red flags. Am I a little bitter that this video is just doing way better than mine? Yeah, I'm wearing that badge with honor. But what's more frustrating is that it seems like someone whose job is to talk about games on the internet is being done at such a low caliber, all of which can be fixed by actual research and actually playing the fucking games. That's the one thing that pisses me off more than anything about talking about games in 2025. So many people don't play the fucking games, but they still want the benefit of talking about them. And you just don't. At least not in a place of criticism. You can't criticize something if I can't take you seriously. Man, it's good to know that if I ever want to stop making good videos, I can just make dog shit and then just thrive on this platform. So at least I have a backup plan.